Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. I'm in the Tony Awards suite at Sofitel NYC, which is the official hotel of the 2019 Tony Awards. And I'm sitting with one of this year's nominees for Best Actress in a Musical for her dazzling performance of Dee Dee Allen in the hit musical The Prom. Please welcome Beth Leavel. Thank you so much for sitting with me today.
Are you kidding me? My peer, my actor, my co-star at the prom. You ask, I arrive. Whatever you need.
Well, I'll tell you, you look gorgeous.
Thank you.
As always.
Thank you.
Okay, you are starring. First of all, congratulations on I just love to watch how you work on stage and how you hold an audience in the palm of your hand.
Thank you.
And you just have this tennis match that plays back and forth from the second you turn around on stage in the prom.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It's so well crafted. It makes it easy to do that. And Dee Dee's such a delicious part that she has permission to do that, to play catch with the audience like that. It's really, really fun. It's so much fun. People ask, how can you do the same thing 8 shows a week? I said, because of that relationship with the audience, that singular moment that each audience and I share 8 times a week will never happen again. So it never gets boring.
This is such a beautifully crafted show.
Agreed. And they're so smart. The creatives are so smart. And they hired me and Brooks and kidding. But they just know what's going to make their comedy land, and they wrote it for us, and they wrote, with my money notes, and it's just, I don't know when that happens. It's such a privilege. It's really, it's like, oh, Beth, you want to sing that? Beth sings a C, so that's what I do. It's really fun.
But isn't it great? Because people used to do this years ago for the Mary Martins, the Ethel Mermans.
I hear that a lot.
Composers each season be like, let's write a new show for Beth.
Sure. That doesn't happen. I hope it's a new trend.
But you've had that, which is very interesting. I mean, first of all, let's talk about the number 13.
Oh, yes.
13 is a really lucky number for you, isn't it?
It really is. It's my 13th Broadway show. It's been 13 years since Drowsy Chaperone. Oh. It's 13 Broadway debuts in this company, and our producer, Dori Berenstein, it's her 13th show. And that's just the ones I know about.
Yeah.
People keep going, oh, this is my lucky 13th. This is my 13th marriage. I'm kidding.
But see, I like the number 13.
I do too. I do too. Oh, I'm owning it. I love the number 13 this year.
All right, well, let's just talk about it. 13 Broadway shows.
I know.
I mean, how exciting is that?
I know. I'm really lucky. I've worked really hard, and I'm lucky, and I keep working, and I keep, claiming that my worker bee mentality, and then I have people like Casey Nicholaw who keep hiring me.
Talk about worker bee. I love that because you have that worker bee thing.
I do.
You do your work. And you have fun.
Yeah, I do. And I will stay with the show until the next job. I don't like to be unemployed. So I like that. Who knows what's next? I'm hoping Prom's around for just such a long time because I could stay with it so long until my body gave out.
Well, let's talk about the Prom because this is a very, very special show.
Agreed.
Like you were saying, there are people coming to see the show and seeing themselves represented in this show.
Absolutely.
And shown through an entertainment.
Absolutely. It's... To go out the stage door or to get the letters that we get backstage about people, particularly the LGBTQ youth and their parents, thanking us for letting their daughter be a hero.
Yeah.
Letting their daughter see themselves, or just seeing that for the first time and having your mind open a little bit, have your heart open a little bit to someone else's journey and point of view. I think that's so important. A component about the Prom. And it's all wrapped up in this phenomenal musical comedy. Like you were saying, well crafted. You'll never laugh so hard. Oh. And so people leave. I literally hear them leave the theater just bouncing down 48th Street, singing the tunes, full of joy. And their heart maybe, what's the line from Grinch, may have expanded a little bit. Yeah. So, I mean, what better task for theater to do? What better task for art than to entertain and to teach and to enlighten and to spread joy?
Like you said, people walk out of that theater. The first time I saw the Prom, I could sing half the score from seeing it the first time, just walking down the street.
It's singable. You can't. It's like earworms. You should have seen this in rehearsal. It's like, stop singing these, because they're never your tunes. It was always like Brooks' number or something I couldn't get out of my head.
Well, let's just talk about that. I mean, working with your friends. Right. I mean, it's you, it's Brooks, it's Christopher Sieber. I mean, Angie. I mean, then there's the new kids.
Oh, I know the children.
youngins, the
Yeah, you know, we call ourselves the olds. There's the olds, and we mean that most lovingly, but we call
totally.
ourselves the olds, and then the kids who we both respect each other so much. You know, we have a little more wisdom and age in the room. So even during rehearsals, we would look and they would be watching us work. And conversely, when they were presenting the choreography, we would ask Casey, could we have a break so we could just go watch them? Because I don't know how it's physically possible that they do what they do in this show. So there's such a mutual respect society at the theater. Even now, like at the end of Act One, we are always in the wings watching that wedge as Mary Antonini comes down because it's thrilling and it never gets old.
You must learn from them.
Totally.
And they learn from you.
Exactly. And, you know, we both say that to each other. It's like, oh my gosh, Beth, thank you for doing this. I'm like, thank you for teaching me how the stamina to do that. And yet, you know, you're sitting back there in these group scenes, and there's all 26 of us on stage, and they are still in the moment as an actor, as well as the quadruple threat they already bring onto the stage. They're ridiculous.
Okay, so
they're ridiculous, and I mean that really, really.
But
in a
I
good
love
way.
how much fun you have, because when I was
Oh my
backstage
gosh.
with all of you, waiting for that curtain to go up, I mean,
See?
everyone is having a blast.
See,
I
and
mean,
that I think so translates into the storytelling, and I think it's just, you know, palatable how much we care and love each other, and how we make each other laugh.
so you were saying the role of Dee Dee Allen, what a beautifully crafted role for you. I mean, she must be hard to play because you do a lot in this show.
Hello.
I mean, you belt. I mean, you have one showstopper after another.
I belt on top of bleachers
Yeah.
as they move. Thank you. Yeah, no,
That's a
it
great
is.
move that Casey gave you, right?
Yes, thanks, Case. It's when I had to work. I remember in rehearsal, I would finish that number and be like, but you know, now I'm cardio fit. I'm like Superwoman.
It's like up in one.
Yeah, totally. But it's really thrilling, and it's still Dee Dee's pace that I'm not out of breath the entire show, and it's fun, and the response you get from the audience at the end of the ladies improving, or at the end of that number, it's really fun.
But your character in general, which they all do, but yours takes this incredible journey.
Right.
Because she starts off, of course, as this funny narcissistic, Tony Award-winning actress.
Just living in her own little bubble.
But your character changes just as much as some of the people in that small, closed-in town.
And I think that's why the story is so well crafted. It's not presented one-sided. Us liberal bubble New Yorkers are represented just as with as many flaws, for lack of a better word, as the people in Indiana. So when we go with our pseudo superiority to Indiana to change them and to make them better, lo and behold, they change, particularly Dee Dee. She has been changed for good by the people of Indiana, and particularly Michael Potts' character, Tom Hawkins. And I love that in the writing, how it's never one-sided. And, ultimately, what brings us together is stronger than what divides us.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite part in the show?
Yes.
What is it for you?
It's a secret. No, I'm kidding. I have many favorite parts, but literally my favorite part is probably going to surprise you. It's at the very end. Spoiler alert, there's a moment that Tom Hawkins, Michael Potts' character, and I have, and I cross over to Brooks. And my favorite moment is when I over there hugging him and I go, so is this what not failing feels like? It's like that's where Dee Dee begins the second part of her life.
Yeah.
And it's so satisfying, and I hear the audience just, oh, bless her heart. And, she's going to be okay. She's going to be great. She has changed.
Because I love your audience. I've sat through the show many, many times. I love to watch the audience.
Oh, I'd love to watch it one night.
Oh, I wish you could all step out of yourselves and see what you give to people, because you have people of every walks of life, every generation,
Absolutely.
every sexuality, every this, every that.
Everything.
Some people just coming to be entertained. Some people are being taught to learn. But everybody walks out there feeling the message and just having the time of their life.
Exactly.
At the prom.
Again, skipping down 48th Street, just full of prom.
Yeah. Going back to 13.
Yes.
It was 13 years ago, but you won your Tony Award?
Do you believe that? How is that possible? How was it
Drowsy
13
Chaperone.
years ago?
That was like 3 years ago.
Feels like 3 years ago. Oh, my gosh.
But take me back to Drowsy Chaperone, another show-stopping role you had, show-stopping numbers on Broadway. Favorite memories of that show for you are what?
Oh gosh, there's so many. Probably opening night.
Okay.
Also, at the opening night in Los Angeles, when we had no earthly idea what we had, and whether it was going to land. And the show begins kind of uniquely in that it begins in the dark.
Yeah.
With the man in chair, Bob Martin's character, saying, "I hate theater." And I remember a cluster of us back there in the dark because we did some off-stage vocals. Yeah. Me and Sutton and Danny and everybody sitting around a mic getting ready to do our off-stage vocals. Yeah. Going, this could be the shortest trip to LA ever. And he said, "I hate theater," and he dove into his monologue. Yeah. And there were waves of laughter like I had never heard before. And that feeling that, oh my gosh, we are giving birth to something fabulous. That was one of my fondest memories, to know that it landed the way we thought it was going to land. And it was so special and magical.
It's got to be exciting because you don't know. You put a new
idea.
musical on. It's like making a cake. You hope you put the right ingredients
in,
and you hope when you present that cake, people will be like, "I love that."
Oh, thank you so much. Because we worked really hard on that cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that feedback was magical. And then the whole thing, the whole exploring Drowsy and knowing what it is, and then people loving it so much. We're ready for Drowsy 2, don't you think?
I think you are.
Hey.
All the fans at Broadway World are going to be tweeting out saying, "What theater? When is it coming in?"
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Is it the original cast?
Don't know.
All right.
I do know the writer, so I may have to go, please, let there be another Beatrice Stockwell.
Well, that was the first time you worked with Bob Martin, right?
Yes, he had no idea who I was.
Okay.
I remember auditioning, they didn't know who this character was, and it was just a bunch of people from Canada I didn't know. And Casey. Now we're very close.
And Casey.
Superstar.
How many shows is this with you and Casey?
As an actor, we did Crazy for You together, and we also did a regional production of Showboat in North Carolina, and then he became a superstar. And Drowsy's the first show that he directed and choreographed, and I did that. I did Elf with him. I did Minsky's, which sadly never made it, even though I hope it finds a life someplace.
Comes back. You never know.
Never know. And I did Elf again, and then now Prom.
Must have been so great to been like performers in Crazy for You.
Can you imagine?
Not knowing where you were all going to go, and now look at you, both of you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That show had a lot. Rob Ashford was in the ensemble. That was a star-studded.
Yeah.
Susan Stroman cast well.
Oh yes. And then of course your songwriting team of the Prom, of course, is from Elf.
Yes.
Matthew Sklar and Chad
Beglin.
I mean, being back in the room with them. This is like the old days of Broadway, right?
It really is. I feel like we're, like our own little MGM.
I love that. Going back to the 13 Broadway debuts, what was that like opening night when you watched those 13 take their bow?
Well, opening night A in our show was November 15th. Yeah. So there was a snowstorm.
Yep.
The show had to be delayed for an hour because people couldn't make it. An hour. Oh. People couldn't make it to the theater. Our sound mixer never made it.
From New Jersey.
Right.
Oh, I remember this
Remember
now.
that? A couple of the people in the crew didn't make it. Luckily, the actors made it.
Yeah.
But so Casey was trying to keep our energy up so, it wouldn't be like, wah, wah. And we did thing where we were posing for selfies, running around backstage. And when finally we were going to begin the curtain, had the curtain go up, Casey did one of the most magnificent things ever. And he, made a little speech to the audience. And he had all 13 of them come in front of the audience and congratulated them on making their Broadway debut. They were sobbing. They came back, and so that's how we were all so full by the time the curtain went up. Yeah. Just because of that beautiful gesture and just the energy from those kids. And Courtenay, she made her Broadway debut.
Yeah, and I'm sure just from the audience being there, witnessing something like this.
It's very special.
That's what's great about live theater. It might have gone up late or whatever else.
Whatever.
But the show will go on.
It will indeed.
It is
always
opening
does.
night, and we have all these kids that are making their debuts. Do you remember your Broadway debut?
I do. It wasn't very... it wasn't an opening night. I was a replacement as Anytime Annie in the first time around for 42nd Street. So I literally was plopped out of the national tour, which I had been in for about 7 months, and had a couple of put-ins, changed a dress. In the Dames number, I was in a different dress. And bam, that was my Broadway debut. Whew. And that was pretty thrilling in a little show like 42nd Street.
But I love how you say your workhorse mentality because it's like put-ins. I mean, a lot of people may not, our theater audiences do, but it's like you get like one put-in.
That's right.
With the orchestra and your cast. Hopefully they're all there.
Right.
And then you go on that night, right?
Don't hit the furniture. Be safe. Say your lines.
So the national tour, what was that first performance like?
Oh, it was thrilling.
Yeah.
I think that, sometimes the national tour was such a special group of people, and it took me forever to get the role because I was a funny comedian who sang pretty well, and Michael Stewart and Mark Bramble like that, but tap dancing was not my... I mean, I
Are you serious?
No. I had the vocabulary and I thank my mother to this day that she made me go to Betty Kovac School of Dance. Thank you.
Name.
I know Betty Kovac School of Dance. And John Kovac taught me how to tap. And I did that from about 2nd grade to 5th grade. And so I had a vocabulary, but then I didn't know what to do with it. And then you become a teenager, and then you're just...
I'm not tapping anymore.
I'm not doing that. Idiot. But I knew the vocabulary, and I started, kind of jumping into the musical pool in college.
Yeah.
And then I started trying to figure out how to tap again. So I didn't have many skills, so I learned very quickly. I did the combination, the Anytime Annie combination, which was very difficult. I taped it on my Walkman.
Walkmans.
And like going flap, pull, hop, step, pull back, which I didn't know what a pullback was. And then I practice at Harlequin Studio, which the floor was like this. It'd be like... And I worked so hard. And I got it. And it took me, tapping is a muscle. You got to keep doing it. So if I did that combination for you right now, you'd be disappointed. But I'd have jazz hands.
I bet you it Zazz hands.
Zazz hands.
But I bet you it lives in your muscle memory. Like
It
Cheetah
does.
always says,
It
once
does.
you have it, it comes back really fast.
It's like riding a bike.
Wow, so you went from like little tap to like Garrett Champion, Randy Skinner tapping.
With a lot of hard work, I sure did. And a lot of patience on the people teaching me. There was a lot of, let's go work, Beth. And be like, I'm going to get that. I would sit in bank lines or sit at the table and practice pullbacks and practice steps. I probably got on so many people's nerves.
Like, what is she doing?
What is she
We wanna
doing?
do
What's
that.
wrong with you? It's like, dun, 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 just tapperton.
Ann Miller.
Everywhere. I still do that in bank lines.
Yeah.
I find myself tapping. It's like, stop.
Waiting, why not?
Why not?
Who was your biggest mentor starting out? Was there a mentor?
It was probably the women in 42nd Street, like Bobo Lewis.
Sure.
I just wanted to be her.
Yeah.
She was a worker bee as well.
Sure.
And we would sit around the Bobo Lewis campfire and B.B. Osterworld.
Totally, yeah.
The stories those women...
The
I would just
Dolly
like,
stories, I
the
can imagine what
Dolly
BB told,
stories?
right? Okay. Because BB was the understudy for
Studied-
all the Dollies at the St. James Theater.
And I don't think she hardly ever went on, but when she did, she was supposed to be magnificent.
Yeah.
Literally, I just wanted to have that career and their feminism and their autonomy and their talent. I just wanted, and I was born in North Carolina. They were New Yorkers. Literally, we would just sit around
And listen.
and sponge.
But you take... Sponging is good.
Absolutely.
Because you are who you are today because of all these people.
I agree. They imprinted deeply on me.
Yeah.
They really did. Thank you.
Was there a defining moment for yourself when you said, I think I want to be a performer and try to make a living at this?
Something, it wasn't like an aha specific moment, but something, even with all my fear of moving to New York, even with all of my self-doubt of not being good enough, as every actor is, I still kept pushing forward. I still kept going forward whether I wanted to or not. As a matter of fact, my club act that I did at 54 was called Kicking and Screaming, which was the only way. It's like, I know I'm going anyway. And I just got my equity card at a Lord Theater. I was an intern there.
Yeah.
Just doing really hard work, and then I had my equity card, and I had no other reason, I had no other excuse, so not to do it. So just do it. And I remember when I moved to New York, I felt like that girl, and I went to the kiosk every morning on 45th Street and would circle anything. It's like, I can be a puppeteer. I so can do that, but just circle it, and I had my little audition outfits, and I knew then that I wanted to be a part of this community.
And now look, 13 Broadway shows later. No,
Wow.
seriously.
No,
when
I
you
know,
think
I
about it.
know. It's amazing.
Because funny that you said that girl. I had the same sort of thing. I called that boy, but I said the same thing. I said, I used to watch that show, and someone said, get out of college, just go to New York. I'll get you a job. I knew I could stay with someone. I said, just go to New York. That's going to be your training ground. You will find your way there into this whole thing. I said, if Anne Marie could do it, because I told Marlo Thomas that, I'm like,
Oh, I love
if she
that.
could do it, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, it's that old leap in the net will
Yeah.
appear. We did. We leapt. We did it. Congratulations.
Congratulations,
And to you.
All
And
right.
to you.
If you could sum up the best part of the experience
Oh, the
of
prom.
working on the prom, what is it? Because there's so many.
There's
I'm
just
sure.
so many.
Yeah.
Part of it's just being in the room again with people, creatives that I adore so much, and them trusting me enough to let me give birth to Dee Dee Allen.
Yeah.
And give birth up there with Brooks and Angie and Chris and the ensemble. Secondly, the message of this show has been so astounding, wrapped up in this huge entertainment where people leave, like we used to talk about being so joyous, and yet their hearts are so touched. And like I said, I think it's expanding hearts and minds, and everyone's singing great show tunes.
And we need that now.
We so need that now. We need to know what brings us together, not what brings us apart.
Well, I thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, you're so welcome. Come back, come back.
I wanna come back.
Come on back in the prom.
Can I come back?
You can play Dee Dee.
Oh, can you imagine?
Come on.
I want those Ad Roth dresses.
Me too.
That's if you can sit in the house and watch.
That's when I can watch it. You can be Dee Dee.
No, I think I'll be Olivia Keating.
Okay.
I like that role.
I do too.
It's a good role.
You start it.
You start, you get a little applause.
Bam. You get a little
walk
entrance
off,
applause. You get exit applause. You got exit applause.
Exit
and
applause.
entrance applause.
and then you leave.
And then you leave.
I love you. Get over here.